We're here to talk about the importance of diversification outside of Canada. So Kirk, why do Canadian investors generally find that so hard?
Well, the problem with investing solely in the Canadian market would be that there are only three sectors that are really well represented by market cap. Those being the financials, think big banks, insurance industry, that kind of a thing, oil and gas, and materials. Outside of that, it becomes very difficult to find any large companies on your radar screens looking only at the TSX. So say we're looking at things like pharma, technology, there's a very limited field of companies that you can actually invest in with regards to Canada. So you have to look outside of the borders in order to find just a bigger pool of companies to add to your portfolio screens.
Okay, and do Canadians generally, I'm assuming they have a home country bias when they're building their portfolio anyways?
Of course. Basically anyone will have a home country bias. If you're an American, you'll mostly invest in American stocks, Canadian stocks, German stocks. It's where you live, it's what you understand. It's generally easier to invest inside your own borders, but that is starting to change these days as things become more globalized and you start to have investment vehicles available through things like ETFs that provide exposure to overseas markets without all of the tax ramifications and regulatory problems that you can have investing in other countries. So it's becoming a lot more feasible for people to invest outside of the country. And further, it's very important with regards to country bias to realize that you're very, very tied to your country as it stands. You work, most likely, in your country. So if you're a Canadian, you work in Canada. You probably live in Canada and own a house in Canada. So if the Canadian economy tanks, at the same time the stock market starts spiraling down, your house is going to be losing value and you'll also be having job uncertainty. So you're really putting all your eggs in one basket, which is basically the economic performance of your country.
I actually read an article the other day and it said the home bias is actually stronger now since the financial crisis of 2008. Financial advisors are finding it harder to get people to go outside of their comfort zone, even more so now.
Yeah, well, when people start experiencing losses like they did in 2008, they tend to, I guess, kind of just pull back and just look for blue chip. You also find that dividend-paying stocks are doing quite well right now because everyone's looking for a steady, income-oriented kind of investment that's not going to move too high, or sorry, more importantly, too low too quickly. So less volatility seems to be kind of the modus operandi right now in the market.
Okay, so in regards to investment ideas, is there anything, any specific ETFs that stand out in your mind that are a good idea for investors?
Well, obviously that's going to depend on the investor themselves, but personally I like to look at some investment vehicles, ETFs. Some ones you could look at are the spiders. Select sector ones are particularly good if you're looking for just a certain sector in the States. There's also some overseas ones. So for example, in my portfolio I currently hold XLF, which is a select sector financials ETF, XLU, which is a utilities ETF, and also EWG, which is a Germany ETF. I generally wouldn't recommend, especially for just individual investors, to necessarily start cherry-picking stocks overseas, especially outside in markets that you don't necessarily understand too well. For example, while I own a Germany ETF, I wouldn't go and purchase ADRs of a German company just simply because I don't know enough about it, I don't live there. I would have difficulty, in all honesty, going through the financial statements. So having a basket of stocks that basically represent the index is generally the best way to go.
Great. I know those ETFs are actually covered by our ETF analysts in Chicago. So for anyone watching, if you're looking for more investment information on ETFs, make sure you check out our ETF page.